Hello, welcome along to our latest look at the Weatherquest farming forecast. We'll start this week by looking back at the month so far. This is how January is shaping up across East Anglia. Each bar on this graph here is the mean temperature for each day since the beginning of the month compared to normal for the time of the year. So where you see these red bars, that's where temperatures have been above average, and where you see the blue bars, of course, that's where things have been slightly colder than average as well. And what you'll notice quite clearly is up until mid-month, it has been warmer than average every single day until we got through to last Saturday, which was the first frosty morning we've had for the month, really, for quite a few places. And it's been the last few days with high pressure, settled conditions, so frost and fog, that have brought those temperatures below average overall, primarily because the nights were quite cold. The daytime values were actually close to normal for the time of the year, and already signs are that we're going above average, and I suspect the rest of the month will also be on the warmer side of average, looking at the next 7 days or so. So the running average, which is this white line here, has come down a little bit because of the cold weather recently, but it's still sitting here within one of the top 10 warmest Januaries on record. This line here is 10th place, if you like, and this dashed line here is the warmest January on record for East Anglia, just picked here as an example. So it's quite likely that white line will stay somewhere in between these two lines through the remainder of the month. We'll just have to see how warm the next few weeks will be, well, next week at least, and how that will then end up for January 2020. But quite a remarkable month for exceptional mild temperatures, really, and not much in the way of cold weather until the last few days. And that's because we've had a fairly active jet stream, but over the last week or so, that's actually shifted to the north, allowing high pressure then to develop to the south of it. And actually, this high pressure was quite a strong area of high pressure, got close to breaking records for how intense the high pressure itself was at the end of last weekend. It is weakening now, though. The jet stream is starting to get a bit more oomph to it across the western side of the Atlantic. You can see a piece of jet energy here waiting to then develop areas of low pressure and push them towards the UK through this weekend, and more especially on into next week. So we are going to revert back to where we were with wet, windy weather developing by sort of Sunday and on into much of next week as well. So it is all changed yet again. But for the time being, high pressure is still just about hanging on across southern parts of the UK on Friday. The isobars, though, gradually filling or weakening as we go through the day. So the wind staying on the light side, but pressure will be gradually falling through Friday and into Saturday. Still relatively quiet, a lot of dry, if cloudy, misty, murky weather. And then through Saturday, a few showers developing ahead of our area of low pressure, but the main action comes in with this cold front through Saturday night on into Sunday, clearing off to the east. And then we're back to blustery conditions with showers piling into these northern and western parts of the UK. The white here indicating that some of the showers will have a bit of a wintry flavour, mainly across the hills. It looks rather scary, but actually this is just sort of hill snow in the showers, and at low levels it's generally rain or sleet. Now, if we take a look at the same chart, but a bit further away, you'll notice on Sunday evening this area of low pressure over the mid-Atlantic, and this is crucial for Monday's forecast. So we've got a big area of low pressure to the northwest of the UK. This smaller feature could be picked up by the jet stream and may develop into quite a significant feature by the time we get through to Monday. A bit of uncertainty about how that's going to play out and exactly how it will interact with the jet stream. So here's just two examples of what could happen Monday mid-afternoon. Now, in this computer model here, we've got a very deep area of low pressure over the UK, a lot of isobars indicating some very strong winds, perhaps disruptive in places, and some heavy rain in places as well. But if that low were to not quite interact with the jet stream so much, it could be left down here over the Atlantic and then gradually sort of drifting towards the Bay of Biscay. So notice these are both at the same time, mid-afternoon on Monday, but the low positioning is completely different, as is the whole structure of the low as well. So there's a lot to play for Monday, but just bear in mind there could be some heavy rain, some strong winds for a time later Monday and into Monday night. We'll have to see how things play out. But the idea is low pressure will continue then to come and go through the week to give us some pretty unsettled conditions, wind and rain at times, and only brief ridges. By the end of the week, it looks more likely high pressure will try to build in a bit more across some southern and southeastern parts of the UK, sort of Sunday into the beginning of the following week. So there are signs things might start to settle down a little bit across southern Britain later next week and into the week after, which takes us on into February. But still, low pressure close to the northwest will try to push rain in. So I'm not saying it will be completely dry like we have seen during the past 5-7 days or so, but it looks drier, with the low pressure becoming a bit less frequent and more focused across the north and the west of the UK. And of course, with low pressure coming in, the winds are going to pick up once again. So this is our Ensemble graph here for Cambridge. You can click up here and you'll see an explainer on Ensemble forecasting, how we use it to stress confidence and certainty going forward in time. But what you'll see here, these are the wind speeds down the left-hand side here, and each day going along the top for the mean wind speed in Cambridge. You can see the next couple of days, fairly calm conditions. High confidence of the winds being generally below 10 miles an hour. But actually moving forward, notice how they start to creep up. And Monday and Tuesday standing out right now with some very big peaks in the wind speed potential at least. Now, the reason for that is with that deep area of low pressure coming in, but also don't forget the timing of that is a bit uncertain as well. It could happen on Monday, it might happen during the early hours of Tuesday, and hence why the risk is spread over 2 days here. Now, after that, the winds aren't quite so strong, but they're still much stronger than they are right now. So it is likely to stay pretty windy or blustery right the way through much of next week before that high may build a bit more towards next weekend, but a long way off in forecasting terms. So you can see that level of information, that ensemble data, all on the Weatherquest portal, and many other things besides. There's a 7-day forecast on there, detailed with hourly data out to 4 days, for example. There's jet stream images, forecaster commentary describing what the weather patterns are doing over the UK over the next week or so, and much more, including the monthly forecast, this video, but in more detail. If you want a 7-day free trial, then just give us an email to info@weatherquest.co.uk and we'll sign you up and set you up an account, and you can see how our information could help you save some money and time for your business. Now, looking further ahead across Europe for the whole week, this is Monday the 27th, right the way through to the very beginning of February. Low pressure, the blue here, indicating below average pressure dominating across much of northern and eastern Europe, indicating that low pressure train coming and going off the Atlantic. Our high pressure having retreated, the reds here, higher than normal pressure, to the south. So that means with a flow largely off the Atlantic, it's going to be above average temperature-wise, as has been the case for much of this winter, particularly across Eastern Europe into Western Russia. Here we've been 10-15 degrees above normal, still cold, but much higher than it should be for the time of the year. And even in Western areas, it's still above average as well. So quite a strong signal there temperature-wise. And rainfall-wise, with low pressure coming in across the UK and indeed across much of northern, central and eastern Europe, above average rainfall. And it's really just the Mediterranean areas where rainfall is actually below average through this 7-day period as well. Then as we actually go on into February, notice that high pressure trying to build a bit more across Western Europe, perhaps into southern parts of the UK. So signs are, as I say, things may dry up a little bit across the south, not completely dry, but drier. Low pressure, though, still dominating across northern and eastern Europe. And again, the flow is off the Atlantic for the most part. So again, temperatures are widely near or above normal, significantly so in some places. And rainfall-wise, well, with that high pressure building in, perhaps coming below average across parts of France, for example, maybe just fringing into southern parts of the UK. Still wetter than average in the northwest, notice, and still above average across central, northern and eastern parts of Europe as well. And then for the final week, looking ahead towards mid-February now, high pressure still very much trying to dominate across Western Europe, still trying to nudge even further north across the UK. So perhaps a greater chance of settling things down here. Still, though, low pressure closer to northern and eastern parts of Europe into Western Russia. And for many eastern areas, it's still well above average. Now, further west, temperatures at the moment indicating near or perhaps slightly above normal, but it is possible with high pressure building in and fog and frost on some of the nights, that could, like we've seen over the last few days, just bring the mean temperature down a touch. But there's no sign of any significant cold weather outbreak or widespread snow, anything like that, showing up in the data at the moment. So we're not expecting any major cold outbreak as things currently stand. In terms of rainfall, well, it could be near normal at the moment, not a strong signal either way really. Still, though, looking quite wet across some parts of Eastern Europe into Western Russia, where low pressure will be close by. So the outlook then for the next few weeks across the UK, well, from this weekend onwards, it's becoming increasingly unsettled. There'll be periods of rain and strong winds through much of next week, and any ridges will tend to be quite brief, which means the frost risk from next week is looking quite limited, mainly across northern UK, perhaps briefly in the south if we get a ridge just happening to come through during the overnight hours. And then perhaps as we go into February, perhaps some longer dry spells developing in the south initially and then extending further north as the month progresses, as high pressure tries to build in from the south, though it could stay quite wet at times across the northern parts of the UK. So high pressure at the moment, but it's turning wet and windy again, and then perhaps calming down a touch towards the middle parts of February. We'd love to hear comments from you. What are you trying to do out there on the fields at the moment? Give us an email, info@weatherquest.co.uk, or indeed you can get in touch with us on social media.